Chairman and members, I'm Gwen Griffin. As a native Texan and an executive in the space business, I'm honored to serve as the first chair of the Texas Space Commission. A very proud moment for me to be here with you today. I'll start by saying thank you. Thank you for passing House Bill 3447 to create the Texas Space Commission and the Texas Aerospace Research and Space Economy Consortium, otherwise known as TARSEC. Now you know why. So the Space Commission and TARSEC. As you may know, the Space Commission has a 9-member board of directors, and TARSEC a 9-member executive committee, which were both appointed about 6 months ago at an event at the NASA Johnson Space Center by Governor Abbott and Speaker Phelan. I have the pleasure of working with some of the absolute best leaders in the space business right here in Texas. Appointees by Governor Abbott include Kathy Leaders, who was elected as the vice chair of the board, John Shannon, and myself. Appointees by Lieutenant Governor Patrick include Sassy Duggleby, who you'll hear from in a little bit, Kirk Shireman, who was elected as our secretary of the board, and Evan Loomis. Appointees by Speaker Phelan include Dr. Heather Wilson, Dr. Nancy Curry-Gregg, sitting to my right, and Brad Morrison. The TARSEC Executive Committee includes appointees by Governor Abbott, including Stephanie Murphy and Matt Onler, and appointed by Lieutenant Governor Patrick is Jack Fisher. Speaker Phelan appointed Brian Friedman and Shay Saberpour, and the Chancellor of the UT system designated Dr. Daniel Jaffe, Chancellor of the A&M system designated Dr. Rob Ambrose, and the president of Rice University designated Dr. David Alexander. So you can see we've pulled a great team of folks from across the state of Texas, from all parts of industry, academia, and government to work together on behalf of the Texas Space Commission and TARSEC. I'll provide a brief update on the actions of the Commission and TARSEC over the past few months. It's only been a few months. The Commission's board of directors, we've met 7 times in public meetings. I'd like to thank the Office of the Governor, particularly the Economic Development Office and that team for their support as we stood up this organization and began to hire staff. So we've organized several subcommittees of the Commission and 3 ad hoc working groups to move forward. The 3 committees include the hiring subcommittee. We've completed 2 searches that were outlined in House Bill 3447, one for our executive director, Mr. Norman Garza, who joined us on July 1st. We also hired our chief compliance officer, Ms. Erin Chancellor, in mid-August. From there, 3 others have joined the staff also in mid-August, including Deputy Executive Director Blake Calvert, Communications Director Andres Ramos, and our Executive Assistant in GLUE, Sylvia Agriano. We stood up the Strategic Plan Subcommittee to create an outline and a draft of our first strategic plan. As I mentioned, we organized 3 ad hoc work groups, each aligned with our appointments, our elected official appointments, to address specific tasks while maintaining proper governance. Each of the 3 ad hoc work groups are currently making suggested edits and additions to our draft strategic plan. We're on track to invite the public to provide input through an online intake process in the next month, and from there we'll finalize and submit our first strategic plan as required by statute on December or before December 31st. We also created the funding process subcommittee to allow eligible entities to apply for grants drawn from the $150 million Space Exploration and Aeronautics Research Fund known as SEARF. Thank you for that. I'm happy to report that the 2 grant applications were posted on September 13th on space.texas.gov, and for those seeking support from the Texas Space Commission. One application is for business and nonprofit entities involved in space exploration, research, and aeronautics, and the second is for government entities and all higher education institutions that may want to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the Commission for space-related purposes. Our Chief Compliance Officer is responsible for ensuring the applications are properly packaged for the board for review, And from there, we will begin scheduling public meetings for the board to approve applications that are identified as priorities from House Bill 3447. So we anticipate receiving applications as early as this week and into the coming weeks. And I have to say, I'm really excited to see the demand signal that is out there across the state to work with the Texas Space Commission, and also the ideas that are put forward to us as Texas really takes hold as a continued leader in space exploration and space. Also, the Executive Committee of TARSEC has made great progress. They've held 5 virtual meetings, written and adopted their set of bylaws. They elected Stephanie Murphy as their chair and scheduled their first in-person meeting to start their strategic planning. They've approved an agreement with the Office of the Governor to enable potential funding from the Commission for TARSEC to support events and appropriate actions of that executive committee and that organization. An agreement between TARSEC and Texas A&M is in works to provide administrative and staff support to that team and is nearly complete. And then a draft of the TARSEC membership guide is also being outlined now. Early outreach to public and private higher education institutions has been very brisk. Just in the last 2 weeks, we've had 50 institutions express a desire to be members of TARSEC, which I think is terrific in a 2-week time frame. TARSEC is looking at a host of workshops and symposia around the state in various locations to really open that communication between industry, academia, elected officials, as well as globally recognized experts in space exploration and the space ecosystem. Lastly, they're working on to lay out a map, if you will, of space companies, nonprofits, academic programs covering space across the state that already exist, and the supply chain that supports them so that we can begin to look at where the gaps are across the space ecosystem and how we begin to solve for that. Over the last few months, I've had the privilege of visiting companies and organizations across the state, several dozen at this point. Those that are building and launching spacecraft, those that are manufacturing and testing rocket engines, those designing and developing the next generation spacesuits for low Earth orbit and deep space destinations, and those that are advancing life and material science research and development and technologies. It's been awe-inspiring for me personally to visit with these people that are creating epic types of technologies and innovations for humankind. During the visits, I've learned about the needs of those already doing business here in Texas and those that are interested in expanding into Texas. We have a lot of room to grow. It's been very helpful as we prioritize our actions as a commission during this first year of operation to be out there in the field to understand what these companies need and how we might help them. The needs range from shared facilities for space capabilities such as hypergolic and vacuum testing to avoid delays, right here in Texas, to avoid delays and unwanted costs in them having to ship hardware across the country for imperative testing. We could have that here through shared facilities. Road, power, and general infrastructure improvements are not a surprise, but very important to locate and expand manufacturing and operations across the state. Grants to assist in building and renovating existing facilities. Local SCIF facilities, that you may have heard the term SCIF, to discuss various levels of classified work with national security, national defense, and industry customers. And of course, always a talent-ready, certified technical workforce. They need that talent-ready, technical certified workforce. So I heard that over and over again. So it's an exciting time for space, and there's a lot of work to be done for our nation and our planet. I'd like to end by again saying thank you for passing House Bill 3447 to make the Texas Space Commission and TARSEC a reality. Because of you, Texas is now positioned to help our nation maintain and grow its leadership position in space for the good of Earth and humankind, and will increase the number of jobs for skilled labor in our local communities. It's a true honor to serve as the chair of the Texas Space Commission. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Nancy Curry Gregg. I'm a former NASA astronaut, veteran of 4 space shuttle missions, and also a former Army aviator. Today, I'm before you as professor of practice in the College of Engineering at Texas A&M University. And it's an honor to address you specifically about the update on the Texas A&M University Space Institute. The significant investment made by the state of Texas in this facility will support commercial, government, and military space endeavors, ensuring that the United States and the state of Texas remain leaders in space. To that end, Texas A&M University has leased 32 acres of land at the Johnson Space Center Exploration Park, mentioned by Dr. Terrier, and construction plans are well underway, which I'd like to update you on this morning. We will be located just outside the main gate, which is a good thing. It takes substantial background checks and so forth to get inside the gates, especially for our foreign partners. So being outside the gates will be extremely beneficial. The partnerships formed in our institute will promote economic development across the state of Texas, continue Texas' legacy as a leader in space, and very importantly, inspire technologies which will also improve the life of all Texans. You have before you some slides of the facility, some images. On slide 4, you will see the immense size of the facility. Literally, each of the 2 scapes, a lunar scape and a Mars scape, are each the size of Kyle Field, which all Aggies can relate to. The core of the facility contains garages on the first level, which are multifunctional, and project spaces above those garages that can be utilized for anything such as labs to office space and beyond. Also in our facility, it's just a short drive for a rover to transit between the moon and Mars, which is only found in our facility. On slide 5, you'll see a view of the scapes. Each of those scapes will attempt to replicate the respective surfaces and will ensure that we can do technology development for things such as EVA suit development, life support development and testing, rover mobility, landing, offloading, and logistics, habitation, surface power, and energy. As you can see on slide 6, the state-of-the-art project rooms, very, very excited about that. One primary use that we have heard from potential occupants of our building is to establish a presence in Houston and make that their Houston office. And these are companies that are located in Colorado and California and throughout the rest of the United States. So while they want development opportunities in terms of space in a garage to develop their technologies, time on those incredible scapes, both the lunar scape and the Mars scape, they also now want to establish a presence in Texas and specifically the Houston area. One of the other things that we plan on doing, Gwen mentioned the development of the workforce that's necessary. We are discussing plans to develop a boot camp for aerospace workers, for both scientists and engineers, to enable them to work in the space industry and support government, commercial, and military space programs. We will also showcase in our facility a large auditorium. In that auditorium, we can host science and engineering seminars, we can host STEM outreach activities, and including robotics competitions. We can engage students across the state of Texas at all levels, from undergraduate to graduate students in our facility. On slide 8, you'll see I'm very happy to report that our design build team, who is working very closely with us at Texas A&M University, is on schedule. On September 16th, we submitted a request to NASA for NEPA approval that is imperative before we can start construction on the site. We are currently in conversations with multiple industry partners to determine how to best outfit the garages and the project rooms within the facility. And I'd like to mention in particular the Greater Houston Partnership and the Bay Area Houston Economic Partnership has enabled hosting of meetings for that outreach, specifically with potential industry partners. We are also currently developing the lease strategy for those areas. Be a little bit complex because everybody wants something different. Some people want some time in garages. Almost everybody wants time on the Lunarscape or Marsscape, and then we have access to the project rooms as well. The groundbreaking, ceremonial groundbreaking will be November 15th, and the actual groundbreaking will follow shortly, either in December or January. I have to thank this committee because the dream of creating this world-class facility would not be possible without the incredible financial support and encouragement of elected officials throughout the state of Texas. And I want to extend my personal appreciation for your vision and commitment to invest in the future of space exploration and trusting Texas A&M University with that investment. Thank you.